sound the final frontier? Was that space? Anyway, when it comes to model railroads, sound pretty much was the final frontier when it comes to realism. And back in the early days of DCC, the sound was pretty average, but still science fiction sort of stuff. And whoever thought in my age that you'd get sound something average out of a locomotive was amazing, a HO scale locomotive, let alone the fantastic sounds that we get today out of them. But we're still pushing the envelope. We're trying to get sounds that are some of the most bass heavy and also high frequency heavy. Hear those poppet valves going off? They're incredibly high frequencies. You've got all the mid-range stuff that's going on inside there too. We're trying to get all of that out of one bizarre little speaker. Now, you know, about 3 decades ago, I did pro sound for concerts and venues and stuff like that, and we used dozens of different speakers, you know, ranging from tweeters this big to sub bins as big as a small car to replicate real sounds. And we're trying to do this with a little 1-inch speaker in a locomotive. So we really are pushing the boundaries and doing an incredible job, the people who thought of all this stuff. It's pretty amazing when you think about it. But the speakers that we're using are very limited, and because of size, and to get the most out of them, you really need to tune them. So with an equalizer. So those of you who are my age or thereabouts, back in the 80s and 90s, if you had a decent home stereo, you would have an equalizer. But we'll have a look at a speaker, some of my home speakers, and see why equalizers didn't really work in the home speaker environment, why we use them in the professional environment, and why you should use them. And this is why Soundtracks is great, because they have a equalizer on their decoders. Why we should use their 7-band graphic equalizer in these things, to try and tune the speakers to get the best sound possible out of the speaker in your locomotive, because everyone is different. So let's go and have a look. Now, here is a pair, or one of a pair, of a set of Bose 301s. Now, these are vintage speakers now, but they really do push above their weight, the Bose stuff. But Bose are quite, people either love them or hate them, but they really were innovators. And especially today with the new modern, I think, shit sound, or everyone's compressing everything and listening in headphones and everything. But in the old days of proper stereo, you needed decent speakers, big speakers, to replicate good sound. So anyway, this is a set of old 301s. Now, why EQs didn't make so much of a difference in home stereos is because you had speakers with a woofer. Well, this is considered a mid-range woofer. And over here you had 2 tweeters. Now, what Bose used to do, what they do, is called direct reflecting. So these speakers actually shoot this way and hit the wall, and you need another surface here. So these were designed for bookshelves. And this one here fires across the room this way. The one on the other side does the opposite. And just about anywhere you sit in the room, you get this, they call it direct reflecting sound coming from these little satellite speakers here. Now, the reason why an EQ didn't work for these sort of speakers in your home area is because these speakers already have an EQ built into them called a crossover. And what the crossover will do is take all the frequencies that this big speaker can handle, so the bass and the mid-range, and we'll direct it to here, and all the high frequencies, will send it to the tweeters. Now, of course, in our locomotive, we don't have a crossover, so what we only have one speaker, and of course that one speaker can only handle a certain amount of frequencies. It can't handle everything. So just about no speaker can handle everything correctly. With the exception of these even more vintage 901s. Now, anyone who knows anything about stereos will know that 901s caused even more conjecture and debate about stereos than other speakers. 901s, quick, these have 2 speakers in the front, believe it or not, and another 6 in the back. I think that's right. Anyway, with 901s, you face them, you have to place them in a certain place in the room. Most of the sound comes out the back on angles and reflects off the walls, and you only get a little bit of sound out the front. But these things are incredible, and they will handle amplifiers up to 400 watts or more. They even say it's unlimited power handling, and all speakers are the same in these.
So they don't have bass or tweeters, but it's another whole world. These are very interesting speakers, and these still work. These would be at least 30 years old now, and they still rock, and they will be rocking in the new house when I get it. So anyway, so there you go. So that's why we need a graphic equalizer on our one speaker to try and get it to cut out the frequencies that our one speaker likes and get rid of the ones that it doesn't like. Because now, if you put different speakers in your locomotives, you would have to put a crossover in, because it didn't matter what you do with the EQ, you would need to separate the high frequencies from the low frequencies. We can't do that. So what we have to do is tune our EQ to get the most out of our one or two speakers that we have in our locomotive. So let's go and do that. So now we know what graphic equalizers do and what they're used for. And this is our graphic equalizer for our Tsunami. This is a Tsunami 1. The Tsunami 2 is exactly the same, only different CVs, but we'll talk about that later on. So if you can imagine the sliders that you see on the old EQs, the buttons that go up and down, these are the sliders here. So we start off at 82 hertz, and goes up to 4K. So 82, which is our base frequency, and up to 4,000 hertz, which is our high-end frequency. Now, even though your speakers say that they can handle, let's say they might say they can handle, 100 hertz to 4K or 2K, it doesn't mean they're going to be able to produce those sounds well. So what we will find is that most of these speakers will not even respond to the 82 K range. You can have it flat out or cut it completely, it won't make any difference. The ones that really make a difference are sort of in here, somewhere between our 120 hertz up to about 2 or 3K. They're the ones that are really going to make a difference. The first thing we have to do is turn on the equalizer. So we do that by setting CV153 to a value of 7. So this is in Tsunami 1. In Tsunami 2 it is value 225. But the page is exactly the same, so you have a Tsunami 2, you go to that same page in your Tsunami 2 manual. So we're going to put CV153 to a value of 7, and that gets us our custom EQ, which is down here. Now, if you didn't want to muck around with the EQ, if you just wanted to try a few different settings, Tsunami has these preset settings here. You can have, one is flat, that's how it comes out of the factory obviously, no cutting, no boosting, it's just dead flat how it was recorded. And of course, as we've discussed before, if you have a great stereo with different bass speaker subs and mid-range and trebles, you shouldn't need an EQ because it should be able to handle pretty much the full range. But of course, we don't have all these different speakers, we only have one. So we have to try and tune that speaker as best as we possibly can for its environment. Everyone is different. So that's how it comes out of the factory. And then you have a look, what's it say here? Micro speaker, micro. I've tried these, and you can see by just reading them, they're cutting some frequencies, boosting others. I've tried them, they make a difference, but I still think you're better off doing it custom and getting the sound that you like specifically for yourself. So once we've set it to 7 up here, that allows us to move all these sliders up and down. So it's just like if the old EQs, you're getting them and sliding them up and down, but we have to do it obviously with numbers. So let's say, for example, we want to do the 250 hertz there, flat. Now if you look down here, flat is, now because everything in DCC is 255, flat is 128, or roughly half of 255. So if this is our slider for, say, 250 hertz, if I set it at 128, say, or 130, that's in the middle. As I go up towards 255, I'm boosting that frequency. As I go down and down and down, we'll cut that frequency. Now, to make it a little bit easier, I've made this little drawing here that represents the diagram we were looking at before without all the mumbo jumbo on it. Imagine these, all the little slides up and down, like on your typical graphic equalizer. And up here are the CVs. So we've already done 153 to 7, so we can use this graphic. And every CV along here is a slider. So 154 is our 62 hertz, that's our bottom base, and CV154, as I adjust it up towards 255, I'm sliding the slider up. If I go below 128 and say set 154 at value of 50, I've slid the slider down. Once you get this into your head sort of thing, it becomes very easy. It's a bit confusing at first, but just imagine each CV from 154 to 160 is one of these sliders on your graphic. And all you do, let's say 158, if I want to boost that a little bit more treble, so we're getting up towards the mid-range treble up here, 1K. So if I want to go, say, halfway between flat and full treble, I might go CV158, I might go a value of, or maybe 150, 170. I'll see how that is. If I don't like it, I can always drop the value of that CV back. And you can just go up and down with your CVs, and you'll see what I like to do is pick a CV, I'll go right up to, say, 200. If it makes no difference, then I'll go all the way back down to about 50. Now, if I can't hear any difference in that, I will set it back to flat, or in the case of the bass frequencies up here, I will probably kill it, because you're better off not having those frequencies go to the speaker, because it doesn't have to work as hard if it doesn't have to do frequencies that you can't hear. It's still, even though you can't hear it, the speaker's still trying to produce them. So we'll see that. So what I normally do with the lowest bass, the 62 hertz, I'll normally run that at about 50. Now on some of my locos with dual speakers, or some of the sugar cubes, or even the 28mm rounders you'll hear in this, I can actually start putting a little bit more bass in, and you will hear it. But you also have to be careful. The whole thing about a graphic EQ is less is more. Don't boost everything. In a lot of the times, cutting is better than boosting. So with that said, let's fire up this SD40-2 and see if we can improve the flat sound. Okay, so let's start off, and we'll go with CV at the 62 hertz, 154. Enter. Let's go to 200. We'll put it right up there. Enter. Yeah, there was a tiny bit of difference there. So therefore these 28mm speakers are actually quite good because they're big. It's a tiny bit, but let's not go too far. So we'll do that again. 1, 5, 4. Enter. 2. So I'm going to take it back down to 1, 2, 5. I'll make it flat. Okay, so that made very little difference. So we could either leave it there, or we could even adjust it down a little bit more. But let's go up to the next slider, CV155. CV155. Enter. Okay, well, I've got it on 175. Let's try that. So now I'll go 155 again, and I'll just take it down to 50, see if I notice any difference. Not much difference at all. So we'll go back up again, CV155, enter. We had a value of 50, let's go 150. We'll take it a little bit above. Tiny little bit of difference there, tiny bit. So we'll leave that. Now as we move towards the middle of our range, we should see the speaker reacting more. So let's go to 156. Enter. I'll go 200. Now the reason why I go 200 is to see if there's a difference. Whoa, now what I've heard in there, I'm hearing a little bit of compressor. Something else in the background there. So I'll go 1, 5, 6 again. And I might just take it down to 175. Okay, I'm going to leave that. Now once again, it's very hard for you to hear this, but there's a couple of frequencies coming up, and the system's moving along here, that really do make a difference. So let's go 157. We're moving along the chart now. CV157. Enter. So let's go 200. 200. Oh, now hear that? Instant distortion. So we know it doesn't like that. So let's go 157. Let's bring that back down to 120. Now let's cut that a little bit. We know that, so 157 is 500 hertz. That's in that mid-range that I was telling you about. Now on some speakers, we'll try and do another loco, you get a really nasally, it's horrible, you've got to cut it right out. But these 28mm speakers are quite a versatile speaker. Okay, so let's go 157. Take that down to 75. Oh, now that's just freshened it up just a little bit. I like that. Okay, so let's go 158. Once again, we'll go 200, just so you can hear the difference. And not a lot of difference. There you go. Now remember, we don't want everything boosted, because once you boost everything, the speaker has to work harder. So the better you can get it to flat, around 125, 128, 130, the better it is. So we'll go 158 again. It was on 200, let's drop it to 150. Ah, now you hear that. Let's do that again. 158. Let's go 200. Now you might say, oh, that's louder, Greg, that's good. No, it's not. It's louder in the wrong areas. Now you can hear the air compressor a bit more, but it's coming over the top of the engine noise. So let's go 158, let's go 100. Now listen for the change. Now you can still hear the air compressor there banging away, but you can hear other noises above it. Now it's an all personal thing, but that's given a little bit more. You can hear that knock from the engine, but it's not too pronounced. So we'll try that. Now let's go 159. We're starting to get up into the high end now, as in high end of frequencies. So we'll go 200, just to let us know we're there. Ooh, that's horrible. And once again, you're saying, wow, I can hear that, Greg. But we don't want to hear all that. That's drowning out everything else. 159. Enter. Let's go 150. Yeah, that's not bad. And then we'll go CV160. We're up at 4 hertz now, getting right to the high end of the frequencies. And we'll go 200 again, just to get a level. Ooh! Once again, people get confused because it's louder. We don't want louder, we want better. So CV number 160, enter. I'm going to go 100. All right. Let's get this back to idle and see what it's like. We need to fix the horn. Now, Okay. I'm pretty happy with that. We've walked through all of these frequencies. So we started out at CV154, which is our bottom end, our base, and we adjusted that started out at 200 and took it down to 50 to see if we could make any difference. If we couldn't see any difference, we left it at about mid-range. Or you can even cut it if you like, but it was a tiny little bit there. Then we slowly moved our way up the frequencies. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through and boost the bass a little bit more on some of these. And you can't hear it on the camera, but you can actually hear it here, and if you listen closely. So I'll be mucking around a bit more with that. But you also saw what happened when we started mucking around with this mid-range, about 1K and 2K hertz, where you get that really too much treble. And the whole idea is to get it to try and sound as natural as possible and hear all the sounds. And don't go in and boost every frequency. You're better off cutting frequencies than boosting in most cases. So what we'll do now, because this 28mm speaker is so good, I'll get another one, and one that we can find where you can hear a real difference, and we'll give that a go. So the next loco is going to be our Genesis Gevo with a Tsunami 2 decoder. So therefore we're going to the Tsunami 2 manual, and it's exactly the same except the CVs are different. So instead of CV153, it's CV225. So 225 we will set to 7. They keep that the same, which is good. And our frequencies go from CV255 through to, sorry, I've screwed it up already. They've even written, this is different, on the Tsunami 1, your CVs are written down the bottom. On the Tsunami 2, the CVs are written up the top. Goodness gracious me. So anyway, to unlock our EQ, CV255, unlike 153 and Tsunami 1, go to 7 to custom EQ, and the CVs that we are adjusting, like our sliders up and down, start at 226 and go through to 232. Same thing, starting at 62 Hertz through to 4K Hertz. So let's give this a go. Now I know for a fact that these Gevos are very nasally, very mid-range, so we have to try and get rid of that mid-range out of them so you can hear the actual engine working rather than hear all that sort of noise. So let's give that a go. We'll just turn this up a little bit. 131. I'll go just so you can hear a bit more. And then let's pick a mid-range. We'll go 250 Hertz, CV228. We'll just dive straight in. Then I'll go 50. Now, you hear that tiny little change there? We'll go again, we'll go CV228, enter, let's go 200. Now, you hear that? That sort of thumping. You might think, oh, that's great, that's more bass, it's no good. It's covering all those other noises. So we'll go 228, enter, and let's go take it down to 100. Which is slightly cut. Now, straight away you get rid of that drumming noise. So let's go another one. We'll go 229, enter, and this is 229 is 500 Hertz. So let's go 200 again. Oh, I've gone 220, there we go. Oh, you hear that? Oh, it's loud, Greg. No, once again, it's bloody horrible. It's just that horrible mid-range. So let's go 229, enter. We had it on 220. Let's go down to 75. Now, instantly, you're starting to hear some of the other engine noises, rather that thumping, that right, mid-range is not good. So then let's go 230, enter. So we're working our way up to the highs now. We'll go 200 again. Oh! That's horrible. Let's get rid of that. enter. Let's go 75. Right, now we need a few highs coming in, so we need, let's go 2, 3, 1, enter, let's go 150 on that. So that's just a bit of a boost. Now you can hear there's still a little bit nasally there, but we're starting to hear a bit more. These Evolution diesels are very difficult to tune. Plus it's at idle. So what we'll do, we'll notch it up a bit and get it running like I should have done in the first place, and we'll tune it when it's up a couple of notches. So let's start at our bass. Frequency 60 Hz, CV226. CV226, enter. I'm going to go 200. No difference. CV226, enter. Say 75, cut it. No difference. So I'm going to leave 226. I'm going to leave that at 75 because it's made no difference, so I'm going to cut it. Remember, roll off the frequencies that aren't being used. So let's go now to 227. Enter. I'll go 200 again. Well, now if I listen closely, I can hear a little bit there. So I'll go 227, enter. Oh, okay, you can actually hear something there, a rumble, but it's actually taking over. So we'll go 227, and we'll cut that down to 150. Right, so that's taken it. You may hear it or you may not hear it. This is something you have to listen to yourself. It's just taken it up. There was actual bass. When I say bass, low frequency there. We're not, we have to be very careful what we talk about bass here. I'd probably be inclined to take it back a little bit more. CV227, enter. I'm going to go 1, 2, 5. That's good. Now, okay, let's go CV228. 228, enter. Now we're starting to get into the mid-range here, so I'm going to go 150. Well, now it's starting, you can hear a bit of a rumble, but it's starting to take over, so that's no good. So we go 228, enter. I'll go 100. So we've cut that a little bit. It's still there, but it's just not overbearing. Remember, you're not standing next to a real locomotive. I think this is something where you have to, put your ego at the door. You're 100 foot away looking down on something. This is what we're doing here, really. You're after clarity, not volume. So that's not bad. 229. Now remember, I think this is the real crazy one. 229. CV 229. Enter. So I've got 75 in there because we're getting into our mid-range. 229 is where are we? 500 hertz. So yeah, we're getting, we're into the sort of mid, between the mid and the 250s mid. We're getting up, it's in the mid-range. So I've got it on 75. Let's just go 150. Now you can hear that thumping away there, but it's a little bit too much. So let's go, maybe 75 might have been a little bit too much. Let's go 125. Let's go 125. That's not bad. Now, 230. This was the horrible one. Let's go 150. We'll go with 150. Hear that? That's your mid-range coming through. You want to get rid of that. So once again, CV230, enter. Let's go 75. You hear all the other noises come through there now that you got rid of that horrible mid-range. So let's go 231. We're starting to get up into the high end now. 231, enter. I got 150 on that. Let's go 200. Yes, even that's a little bit nasally. So we go 2, 3, 1. Let's go back down to 140. You still want to hear the little tick, tick, tick. You want to hear the high range as well. Remember, we've got one speaker in here trying to do the whole frequency range. And anywhere else in audio, you would never ever do that. So that's not bad. And let's go, at the end, we'll go 232. Enter. What have I got that on? Let's just go 200 again. This will really sing it. Whoa. But mind you, that has been a bit more clarity out. So let's go 232, enter. Let's go 175. It's still a bit much. 232, enter. Let's go 150. All right. Let's see how that is when we just notch it down. Now you can hear they idle very differently to how they run. So if you EQ these when they're idling, they'll be totally different to when you EQ them when they're running. So I found that getting the nice sound when they're idling, like crisp, and hear all those things going, when they're running, they're not as good. All right, let's see how it goes up through the reps. You just need to turn that compressor up a little bit. Anyway, we can do that. Well, there you have it. A not so quick guide to using your equalizer on your Tsunami 1 and 2 decoders. And that's why Tsunami put them on there, to get the best out of your speakers. And some of you might be saying, oh, well, if we have a good recording, you shouldn't need that. No, that's not the case. A good recording will help. Obviously, it's always best to start with the best possible input, but soundtracks, or whoever's recording it, don't know what sort of speaker you're going to play it on, and don't know. Every speaker sounds different depending on its enclosure, depending on how you seal it, depending on where it's sitting. So you can't possibly make a recording for a particular speaker. So that's why recordings are done flat to their best quality, and then it's up to the end user to tune whatever's playing that sound. So, where are we? So that's why I like, one of the reasons why I prefer soundtracks is for this reason, because I'm an ex-sound guy, and
It doesn't matter how good your decoder sound is, you know, you cannot produce one sound that fits all. That's why we have EQs. So just remember, just adjust, remember these little, all their numbers and CVs are just like these little slides. So each CV, and on Tsunami 1, it's what, 1 to 54 through to 160. Each one of those CVs is a slider. And you just go up and down from 0 to 255 on each one, each CV, and that'll adjust your sound. And on Tsunami 2, it is CV 225 to unlock it, and then it's 226 to was it 231, I think? Anyway, just make sure that you're using the right graphic CVs for Tsunami 1 or 2, otherwise you'll get yourself into trouble. And if you stuff it up, just go back, set your main CV to 0, and that'll take it flat again, and you can start again. So that is it. Have a play. It certainly makes a big difference, especially getting rid of those mid frequencies. That's a big thing in these decoders. So, and of course it depends on the speaker. Now, as you heard with the Kato, the 28mm speaker in that, it was pretty much good flat. It didn't need much at all. Where the 28mm in the Athearn, totally different, totally different. So sorry, I think the Athearn's a 30, so there you go. But just the difference in situation, this is Kato's in the tank, the Athearn's in the shell, totally different setup acoustically. Different recordings too, of course, but I've also done SD40-2 recordings on the Athearns with the Sugar Cube speakers, and they suffer a lot from mid-range. They're very good, but they're very top end on mid-range. So if you like, if you want to see this done again, give me a yell and we'll do a tune-up of the Sugar Cube speakers in the Athearn SD40-2s. Anyway, go and have a play, as the bishop said to the stripper, and see what you think. And you'll definitely, and also remember, don't go in and boost everything. Cutting is more important than boosting. Getting rid of frequencies that are too overpowering and that your speaker produces easily, you want to cut them to make sure that you hear all the little sounds in there. So don't go in and boost everything. Start flat and then work your way up a little bit, down a little bit. It's a practice. Anyway, that's it. Go and have a play with the EQ, see what you think. Remember, turn the sound down as well after you've done it. Have the sound up a little bit so you can hear all the sounds, but not too much. Then turn your prime movers down so you can hear all the nuances in your new locomotive. Anyway, that's it. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. On the bed, what's up? Hooroo for now. Bye-bye.